Welcome to the Metaphysics Hour. I'm your host, Rory Colgan. This is episode 20, the universal law of duality. This, I believe, is 5.9, the ninth universal law that we are covering in this series. And the best definition for the universal law of duality is described in two ways. Ironic, isn't it? The first way that you can describe this law is that for every positive, there is a negative. Make sense? All right, now let's do the other way. For every negative, there is a positive. That is something that pervades the universe. In other words, you're never going to be able to get something completely purely good or purely evil. It's not black or white. And remember, if you can't remember or are not following these episodes one by one, we've talked about this before, so I'll just remind you once again of its validity. This is 1/13th of how the universe functions. All 13 universal laws are part of the same whole. Now, for our brains to get it, we have to go component by component. Otherwise, it's impossible to describe in language. The very language that I'm using needs to go from one syllable to the next syllable. So it's a linear way of communicating. And that means that you have to use the part of your brain that understands things in a separate manner. The way the universe operates is in a whole manner. But in order for you and I to communicate about that out here in the physical world, we have to talk about it as separate things that are connected. And then we can use the words to say that they are operating as one, even though we have to distinguish different mechanisms in order to fully grasp how the universe works. So, just as much as I say there is not black and there is not white, the rest of the universal laws will come in and say, well, there is black and there is white, there is good and there is evil. But inside that quote-unquote condension of good, and inside that condension of bad, there are the seeds of each. Who knows what religion, well, I'm sure some people know what religion uses this symbol, but there is a symbol called yin-yang. I was first introduced to this symbol when I started doing Tai Chi after high school. And essentially, there is a black section and there's a white section. In the black section, there is a white seed. And in the white section, there is a black seed, which is basically saying that there is the aggressive quality and the receptive quality, and the seed of the other is within. That's a great definition or a great depiction of the universal law of duality. So you always have something negative and always have something positive. Now, your perspective tends to lean towards one or the other. For instance, yesterday, I was going to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, and I brought two documentations that indicated my current address and my driver's license so that I could get my current address put onto that particular driver's license. Well, it just so happens to be a bureaucracy, and bureaucracies have all sorts of funny little rules. And one of these rules was that they had to be certified pieces of mail, and therefore one of my documents was invalid. So I couldn't get my driver's license address changed. I was frustrated. I pretty much walked out without a whole lot more communication, just teeming inside, thinking to myself of a lot of different curse words and the stupidity of the situation. But in that very situation, there is good. Even though my perspective at that time was that this is a bad experience, this is a useless experience, this is unproductive, this is negative. The law of duality states that for every negative, there is a positive. And first positive of that particular situation was that I survived, physically survived the situation. And that's what you have to remember in any horrible situation. And of course, this isn't horrible, but it was a frustrating moment. And so that was the only thing that I could identify at first that was positive. You know, I'm having this experience. I'm aware of the universal laws. I'm not feeling in harmony with the universal laws. I'm feeling irritation. And I'm starting to blame the Bureau of Motor Vehicles for being just an idiot organization, an unhelpful government bureaucracy that's just a bunch of socialist bullshit. Um, and I'm starting to feel that and experience that. And so I have to ask myself, what's the good in the situation? How can you find equilibrium? Because right now you're not feeling equilibrium. And so the first thing that I could come up with was that I'm alive, that, some crazy guy didn't come into that building having a gripe with the government and shoot up the place, killing me and other people. So the first good was that nothing crazy happened. The second good, now this was something that happened after I started to calm down a little bit and say, like, it's really not that big of a deal. Sure, it's going to cost you another hour or two. You're not going to be able to do it today. You're going to have to do it on your lunch break during the week, but blah, 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 blah. So what was it that the second good in that particular situation? It was a little bit harder to find, but it was there. I got the clear requirement to update my address. So I could make sure the next time I went in, I was harmonized using the law of attraction and the law of relativity and the law of cause and effect, and by bringing the actual documents in so that I would get the manifestation of my desire, which was an accurate driver's license that had all correct information. So after that particular realization, the frustration of the experience left me. Now, I could have went back home, got the document, got back on the road, and went to the Bureau again. But I decided that I wasn't going to waste my time doing that I was already had enough of the bureaucracy for the day, and that I was going to be better prepared for the next day. So this morning, before doing this video, I went to a different driver's license bureau, but it's on a Saturday. And I walked in, one step in the door, saw almost every seat filled, and spun around instantly and walked out. That's the law of attraction right there, because it repelled me. Simply because there is no reason for me to wait an hour and a half to do something that's going to take less than 5 minutes. So I'll just take a little bit longer lunch break, again, using thought as cause, using my ability to create my reality so that I don't have to experience this frustration and this unproductive energy. I just turned around, walked out, and left. And I'll try to do it again sometime this week and hopefully be successful. The good in that situation, because it was a positive, was that I didn't have to endure a long line. I didn't have to wait and sit here on a Saturday, getting off work early, still in my farm clothes, so I still got manure on my pants and on my boots, and I still smell like cows, and I don't have to sit in that in a waiting room with 50 other people. Now, the bad, or the negative of that situation, is that I did not accomplish my goal. I didn't get the driver's license updated, but that's okay, because the universal law of duality says that for every positive, there is a negative. For every negative, there is a positive. There is no way of escaping this unless you get out of the levels of mind that we're talking about. And you have to move pretty deeply into mind, into the deeper parts of mind, before you're going to be able to transcend some of the duality that we experience. And in fact, to truly transcend it, you would have to move out of mind and reach something that's beyond the scope of this series. You probably have heard about it, but I'm not sure there's any word that I know in English that would correctly do it justice without describing it for another 10 minutes. So let's just say that there is something beyond heaven, beyond enlightenment, where these forces no longer are distinguishable, where there's no longer this sense of quote-unquote duality. But all the way down here where we are, we experience duality on a moment-to-moment basis. There is a positive and a negative of everything. So to be balanced, to achieve a healthy, wealthy, and influential life, you have to appreciate both. Sure, you can focus on the one that you need to focus on more, but see both. Don't get so blindsided that you're just a positive thinker and you become a Pollyanna with rose-colored glasses and you can't ever fully take criticism. You don't understand the great injustices that are going on. But also don't be the other person where you only see the injustices, because then you're liable to go crazy. See both, understand both, and free yourself from these pairs of opposites. Free yourself from the laws of duality by recognizing that you and that heaven and that enlightenment, all of these things, you are beyond. You are beyond these things that we can talk about. You are whole, perfect, lacking nothing, needing nothing, complete, and totally satisfied. But now the trick is making that inroad so that you can actually connect with that reality while living out here in the world that we live in. So that's where the work comes in. And all of these universal laws, not just the law of duality, all of these laws are going to help you achieve such an vista of awareness, but also, most simply, help you achieve your natural state. This is Rory Colgan from Inner Health Today saying, subscribe, like, share, and donate at innerhealthtoday.com. Love you. Talk to you soon.